Deputy Speaker Kalu receives EU parliamentarians under the aegis of First Step Forum. As party conventions begin, women's underrepresentation in the legislature remains a key issue for discussion. From the state assemblies, more bills are passed for state and grassroots development. Good evening and welcome to Parliamentary News Tonight. I am Deborah Olumayowa. Now the news in detail. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, is advocating increased technology, transfer and economic partnerships between Africa and Europe, emphasizing that such synergy is crucial for job creation and reducing irregular migration. He stated this while receiving a group of European parliamentarians under the aegis of the First Step Forum on a collaborative visit to Abuja. Kalu stressed the need for European countries to relocate industrial expertise, technology and investments closer to Nigerians' abundant raw materials. This, he said, will enable Nigeria to transition from exporting raw commodities to producing high-value finished goods locally. The Deputy Speaker particularly highlighted Nigeria's rich cocoa and lithium resources, noting that processing them into products like chocolate and electric vehicle batteries would not only boost value addition, but also stimulate industrial growth and expand employment opportunities for the youth. He also called for a fundamental reset in Africa-Europe relations built on mutual respect and shared prosperity. The European parliamentarians, led by Swiss lawmaker Mark Just, pledged greater collaboration with the Nigerian parliament to ignite a new era of economic cooperation between Nigeria and Europe. There are growing concerns over Nigeria's gender development indices, as nearly half of the population, women, are remaining underrepresented in leadership and governance. As political parties gear up for their national conventions, questions are being raised about whether women's inclusion is truly on the agenda or what steps Nigeria is taking to ensure equitable representation in politics. Correspondent Ladi Bala reports.
It is no longer news that Nigeria continues to lag behind in women's inclusion in leadership and politics. This worrisome trend is evident across virtually every sector. Despite sustained advocacy, engagement, and years of struggle aimed at achieving meaningful change and improving Nigeria's standing in the global community, political parties remain the gatekeepers and platforms through which leaders emerge. Although many of them have policies that provide for women's inclusion, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Are Nigeria's legislators truly committed to advancing women's participation in politics?
I don't want to be hearing woman leader. I don't want to be hearing Commissioner for Women Affairs, Minister for Women Affairs and so on. We can do better. We can do more. We have a lot to contribute to this country. But if opportunity is given to us, we will do better.
Even if we are on women leader and welfare, do you understand? It is much more than that now. Like I said, look into the working committees, the national working committees at the core center. You will see women are effectively positioned. So like I said, the shift is happening. I don't just want to sound, positive, but progressive. I don't want to ignore the little things, like I call the little wins, because they all build up to the ultimate win. What is not conspicuous now, we call it BHS, behind the scenes, eventually gains its own prominence and place of defined impact.
That is why the new bill that is before the National Assembly is there for us to have more inclusion, because without bills like that being passed into law, there is no way we can have additional women into the political space of Nigeria, because, I don't know, for one reason or the other, religiously, financially, so many issues have really been bringing our women down. We cannot really get to where we want to get. It takes a lot of effort to be where you want to be politically.
So because we know that this is quite significant, that the leadership, the distribution of leadership must reflect to the large extent the demography of the people. And women, the difference between male and female population in Nigeria is only marginal, if there is any difference at all. So we believe that women should have equal representation, and we also know that it's not just a declarative statement, it's not just constitutional provision, because we can say, okay, nothing stops women from contesting. But when you don't make deliberate effort to lower entry point barrier or for lack of economic resources, that right may not be used. So, and that's why we say it's not just enough for us to say women have the right to contest, but we must also support them to be able to enjoy that right.
I advise our colleagues to consider women. Before, we didn't sit and being educated about the women, but later I was educated. So I am calling the attention of my colleagues. Let them pass this bill as soon as possible, and let them give them the one-third of the positions. Let us take 2/3, let them take 1. That is, when you divide it into 3, women should take 1, men should take 2. I think when we do this to women, they will get 35% at least.
Concerned stakeholders believe that the outcomes of the various political party conventions will ultimately reveal whether there is genuine commitment or mere lip service towards improving women's representation in leadership and governance. In Abuja, Ladi Bala, NTA News.
To speak further on the topic legislative advocacy and women's political participation, are Nigerian lawmakers doing enough for stronger advocacy as election season approaches? Our guest is Princess Miriam Odunaka Onua, member representing Okigwe Onomo and Isiala Mbano Federal Constituency. National Assembly correspondent Ladi Bala had an engaging conversation with her.
When you talk about women underrepresentation in leadership and politics, Nigeria ranks very low globally. And I want to know what concrete efforts currently are on ground. Because I'm aware of the special seat bill which has passed through the first reading and all that. So we want to know the status and what effort is ongoing to ensure that this special seat bill sees the light of the day.
The clamor to increase the number of women in elective offices has been on for long. From what we see from the numbers, this is about the lowest. And the main problem, like I have seen, is a problem of recurring reduction decimal, where every successive administration has an increasingly reduced number of women. So rather than consolidating on the few number of women, each assembly we rush to get more women, and on coming back, the few we have are lost. One of such plans would be to consolidate on the few women we have at the National Assembly, let them come back. In the House of Reps at the 10th Assembly, we're about 16. If we have those 16 return in the 11th Assembly, we will be adding additional 38 or 10-10 per zone or 1-1 per state as per the reserve seat bill. So additional 36 plus 1 in the FCT, you would have added 37 plus the 16. I also see a solution in the reserved seat bill. It has come with a lot of criticism. It has also come with a lot of support from the larger society, from co-legislators, both women and men. But it has not come without its attendant challenges. Some of those challenges are whether the men would be willing to vote this reserve seat bill when it comes for voting in the House. On the other hand will be the need to deploy political diplomacy and political solution, where we look at the political parties nominating gender mixed lists to INEC, where political parties adhere to gender mainstreaming. Like in the All Progressives Congress, the constitution of the party provides for maintaining gender balance, affirmative action, where women a certain percentage, not less than 35, are mainstreamed into the elective and appointive positions of the party. Another very sustainable solution would be to work with the state governors. Because in politics, you have the mentor-mentee relationship where you have critical stakeholders like the governors who would hold your hands to positions of power. I strongly believe that every political party has their key activities governized by the executive governors of their respective states. And if you have them to buy in, I give an example with the executive governor of Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodimma, who has maintained that there must be gender mainstreaming and balance. I am a beneficiary of that benevolence. And not just giving that ticket, also providing the technical support to enable me to win and come back to the house.
Why is it that when it comes to this special seat bill, it's as if it's just lip singing to the issue? So now that is where the issue of legal structure, talking about the specials having the legal backing, to this issue of affirmative action.
I think another thing.
Are you now seeing the possibility? Is it possible that the National Assembly could also pass a bill to mandate the political parties to scale up to the 35% affirmative action in leadership structure?
I think the first thing first would be to give it life by amending the constitution in a way that it forms part of the guiding principles, the 35% affirmative action. We have the national gender policy, which permits 35% affirmative action. If we give it life by putting it in the constitution, it becomes enforceable.
But why is it that members of parliament are for dragging when it comes to that? Because they are all aware of the national gender policy. Why is it that really giving it life and the special seat bill is becoming an issue?
I give you an example. If you have a thick forest and you want to bring the trees down, if you don't want to see the leaves, start by cutting the root. Once the root is off, you definitely get the trunk down and the leaves will fall off. So if we also want to uproot this age-long scarcity of women in the parliament, we have to put an all hands on deck approach, and it has to also be a myriad of plans, and policies, principles, and guidelines. All of them, put them together.
Thank you so very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Ladi, for that insightful conversation with Honorable Princess Miriam Odunaga. In a related development, a coalition of concerned Nigerian women in Kogi State is calling for the speedy passage of the bill seeking reserved seats for women in the legislative arm of government to promote inclusivity and equality in governance. This came during a constituency visit by the group to the member representative representing Lokoja Kogi Koto Federal Constituency, Danladi Suleiman Aguye in Lokoja. Ayodele Ibigbemi reports that he was represented by the member representing Lokoja 1 State Constituency, Bin Ibaya Tijani.
We support the reserved seats for women bill.
The crucial role of women in politics, economic and national development cannot be overemphasized. It is on this premise that the Coalition of Concerned Women of Nigeria, Kogi State Chapter, under the leadership of Oluwakemi Umeiza Usman, are intensifying calls for the passage of the reserved seat for women bill. The coalition present a humble petition to the member representing Lokoja Kogi Koto Federal Constituency at the National Assembly, advocating for immediate passage of the bill. The petition was received by the member representing Lokoja 1 State Constituency at the Kogi State House of Assembly, Bin Ibaya Tijani, on behalf of the member representing Lokoja Kogi Koto Karfe Federal Constituency, Danladi Suleiman Aguye.
He said, I should tell the women that they have his support, they have his backing, and then you will see possible ways of convincing other of his colleagues to support this bill. wholehearted.
Coordinator of the group and the chairperson, International Federation of Women Lawyers in Kogi State, Oluwakemi Umeza Usman, says the move is aimed at creating additional seats for women at the National and State Assembly, as well as at local government councils, to enhance female representation in the decision-making processes.
This is an appeal to our lawmakers to not only support the bill, but to become champions of this bill.
Other members explained that the petition became necessary, hence the need to advocate the importance of inclusive governance for sustainable development.
If the women are given more opportunities to also be able to air their own views at the floor of the various houses of assembly,
the women can also be the foundation of having meaningful progress and development in society.
When you start talking about women affairs, if women are not there, how do you know their pains?
The coalition emphasizes that increasing women's participation in politics will not only strengthen democracy, but also ensure more balanced and people-oriented policies across Nigeria. In Lokoja, Ayodele Ibiwemi, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA Parliament. We'll take a break now. More reports when we return.
Do you know your representatives in the National Assembly? Do you know their duties, their promises, and their impact? It's time to bridge the gap between the people and their lawmakers. It's time to know your legislator. Know your legislator, a civic power in your hands, only on NTA Parliament. Join us every week as we bring your senators and representatives closer to you.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. The League of the Women Voters in Nigeria and Nigeria Association of Women Journalists in Bauchi State have submitted copies of petition to seek out of the 12 members representing Bauchi State in the lower chamber of the National Assembly on special seats for women bill. The petition was also signed by FIDA and several other women groups in Bauchi. Meanwhile, women in Bauchi joined their counterparts nationwide in advocating for speedy passage of the bill that will reserve special seat for women to contest for a particular position. Maria Mubala reports that the women groups under the aegis of League of Women Voters in Nigeria are demanding the House of Representatives members to speed up the process that can bring about inclusion of women in Nigerian governance.
Sai kun fitini duk wani dan majalisar tarayya. Na an gama da can akwai kuma 36 states. Tunda dole banka amending the electoral act, sai ka zo ka amending the constitution.
With their written petitions demanding acceleration of the passage of the special seat for women bill, the women were at the doorsteps of various House of Representative members in Bauchi State to press on their demands. The women, confident of their numeric strength, especially during elections, lament their underrepresentation in all tiers of government, believing that the passage of the special seat for women bill will address the systemic imbalance.
We are calling on our honorable members to see to the passage of this bill. We don't have issues with the Senate, but right now the bill is having issues with our House of Representative members, and that is why, as women from Bauchi State, we deem it necessary to come and meet them one-on-one to, tender our petition.
The advocacy visit covered 6 lawmakers, including those representing Bauchi, Misau Dambam, Toro Jama'are Itas, and Zaki Darazodas, alongside Bogoro and Tafabalewa Federal Constituency. For these women, their petition is in line with international obligations which Nigeria is signatory to, so as to achieve economic development, democracy, alongside national unity. In Bauchi, Maria Mubala, NTA News.
Now to State Assembly reports. The Benue State House of Assembly has passed a bill to establish the Benue State Agency for International Cooperation and Development. Assembly correspondent Grace Anyalewa Ichapa reports.
Leading the debate, Chairman House Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, and donor agencies, Douglas Akia says, the establishment of the agency in the state will attract global partnership and investment that will improve the lives of the people.
All the stakeholders in the state, including international partners, welcome the bill establishing the Benue State Agency for International Cooperation and Development, acknowledging its potential to share sustainable development.
House P24, the Benue State Agency for International Cooperation and Development Bill 2026, third reading.
House P24, the Benue State Agency for International Cooperation and Development Bill 2026, having been read for the third time, hereby pass into law.
Similarly, a bill to establish the Benue State Post-Harvest Management and Export Agency, sponsored by member representing Taka constituency, Mange scaled through second reading. Meanwhile, the House has directed the Executive Secretary of the Benue State Sports Marketing and Lottery Board, Michael Upe, be suspended indefinitely over alleged financial misappropriation.
Finding 2, the Executive Secretary, Benue State Sport Marketing and Lottery Board, configured the payment solution platform, which allows him sole access to the back end and linked his company accounts as receiving accounts.
We have invited this young man over 6 times. He has never, ever turned off any of the invitations. We visited his office, he's not there. We requested for documents that no has been submitted to our committee.
Why we are doing everything in the state to mop up revenue for the state, for the development of the state, for the growth of the state, to enable His Excellency to do more job for the benefit of all. The one young man who is in charge of lottery board will be scooping all revenue from government copper.
Based on this recommendation, Mr. Opel is hereby suspended indefinitely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In Makudi, Grace Anyalewa, Ichekpa, NTA News.
As democracy continues to gain ground in Nigeria with over 2 decades of uninterrupted governance, one of its core pillars, the legislature, has the responsibility of ensuring that the dividends of democracy reach the people at both state and federal levels. However, observers believe the task is far more demanding than it appears. Lawmakers, especially at the state level, are being urged to do more in discharging their constitutional responsibilities to their constituents. Samira Hamisu reports.
The legislature is considered as an arm of government. It is closer to the electorate due to its constitutional powers of representation, bringing the plight of constituents to the forefront of governance. This is complemented by its oversight functions over government agencies and parastatals, ensuring public resources are prudently expended as approved in the appropriation law. The question is, how effective are these lawmakers in the context of Kanu Assembly?
We can say they have not been effective because we have been hearing of allegations that some of these members, the moment they're declared winners in their elections, they will not set their feet into their constituencies until it is another round for elections. So if you look at the 3 very important roles that they play, making law, oversight function, and also the responsibilities that they do have for their constituents, it is only in the first one, that is making law, that we can actually score them as having attained pass mark. So there is your answer. 2/1, of course, is a failure, actually. So in that respect, we can say they have not been very much effective.
For Malan Kabiru Sufi, a seasoned public scientist, the legislative arm can achieve more with increased public awareness of the rules and obligations of lawmakers, as well as enactment of quality legislations.
We used to have people that are not really very capable, or they don't really understand the enormity of the responsibilities that lies ahead or that lies on them when they are elected into the House. So when they go, they fall short of what is expected, largely because they do not know what is expected of them, or because they do not live up to the responsibility.
Also maintains that a strong opposition within the Assembly will compel lawmakers to remain proactive and accountable.
The opposition at that level is also needed. So if at all at the State Houses or Assembly there will be no oppositions, I think that will greatly undermine the functions of the House itself, because the House needs to guide itself, and that guidance can come from the opposition within the Houses or Assembly.
Meanwhile, a cross-section of Kano residents hold diverse opinions on the impact of the legislature on their daily lives.
They have been doing their duty. They have been discharging their obligations correctly.
They need to identify the problems or the needs of the people they are representing, so that they will be able to tender it once they are representing.
If they can wake up to the challenge, push forward their bills to the betterment of their different communities.
Should keep public interest, political interest, ahead of their own personal interest.
Is by a conscious decision-making. Decisions that will impact the life and the welfare of the masses.
Overall, the scorecard of the Kano State House of Assembly can be rated as average. Citizens are calling for more people-oriented legislation, especially in hard-to-reach communities in critical areas such as education, healthcare, water supply, and other essential social amenities. From the Kano State House of Assembly, Samira Hamisu Shara, NTA News.
That concludes the news on NTA Parliament. You can follow us on our social media handles displayed on your screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Deborah Olumayowa.